Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/deconversion. They've got over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. And welcome. Hello. This is Deconversion Therapy, the podcast, and I'm Bonnie.
And I'm Karen.
So this week we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving.
And Bonnie, I'm thankful for you.
I really am thankful for you. You didn't sound sincere.
Well, see, I didn't even get to finish. What if I have like a song written that I was going to sing and it was all about thankfulness and it rhymed? It was only 8 verses.
And it rhymed. I don't think you
Every
could rhyme.
word rhymes. Each word rhymes with the first word.
I am thankful. I'm very thankful for all the people who have listened and become a little community here, because that is exactly what I was hoping would happen with this podcast.
Wouldn't it be cool if we did a Friendsgiving, but it was just all the listeners and we could, granted, we can just like mute some of them. No, I'm joking. But if it was all of them and then we would all just be on the same page.
Yeah.
Or mainly the same chapter or, generally the same volume.
I know. My fantasy Thanksgiving is just being around people who have watched the same TV shows I have, and we can just drink and quote 30 Rock and Arrested Development and have entire conversations that only we understand.
I know. And to me, it would be with people who know serial killers. But we can't always get what we want.
They don't have
thankful.
The funniest quotes.
Oh, you have no idea. One day, Ted Bundy, he was walking now.
Oh my gosh. So I was in the post office yesterday. That's a lie. Friday.
Yeah, that's a Saturday. Okay.
They're open. But anyway, so I'm in the post office and I look over on the counter and there are 2 boxes that no one is standing with. So I asked the guy in front of me, "Hey, do those belong to you?" And he said no. And the woman behind me said, "They're mine." And I said, "Oh, great, because I have it beaten into my head, see something, say something." And she just kind of nodded, and she was wearing a shoulder sling. And I wanted to say to her, "And you think you have a pass for that shoulder sling, but Ted Bundy pulled that, and I'm not buying it." But then I thought, man, she will not get that, and then really be confused. So
right. And anytime bringing up Ted Bundy and in a post office, it's all right. Take that off. Prove it. We're very thankful for everyone. And we're going to talk about Thanksgiving because it's a day before Thanksgiving and you either have it off or you're really upset. Either way, we wanted to give you a little Thanksgiving special.
Well, you didn't include the option, or you don't have it off and you're really happy about it, because that could happen.
It could.
Family is
I guess
home.
so. This lady who was checking us out the other day somewhere, my husband said, "Do you have Thanksgiving off?" She said no. But she was like, "But you know what? I see my extended family every Sunday. So to us, it's not a big deal. And let other people have it." And I'm like, "Yeah, oh, that's sweet."
Yep.
Yeah. I will be having tofurkey, and I am not joking. We have the vegan daughter. She just sent me something with a picture of what looks like a long wrapped around parsley. And I guess that's what a tofurkey is for us this year.
But what I don't understand is, why do you have to have something in the place of the main? Why can't you have a lot of nice little side dishes?
Because she also likes to feel like she's included.
I think the main thing I object to is the syllable "furk."
Yeah,
That I don't care
I get
for.
you. Okay, Bonnie, I'm going to give you a little history lesson that you've been begging for about Thanksgiving, because we all know that the one we have was marketed to us by Russia and then put in our brains to make us feel unity of some sort.
You know what I'm going to ask? Is that
What?
true?
No,
It wasn't marketed by Russia.
no, it
Why
was
would you
not.
say that?
Because it's so easy to, that was my lesson
To
on
realize that it's not true?
disinformation, on fake news, and you fell for it. See how easy it is? No, so Thanksgiving was actually made a public holiday by Abraham Lincoln, trying to, though, do like unity because it was a civil war. And it's like, look, people get together and here's a holiday, take it off, eat together. Let's stop the bloodshed. But the original Thanksgiving, I learned a little more about. So I knew that everyone's like, oh, okay, they massacred the Indians. It wasn't a happy meal and all that, which is false. So pilgrims were not the ones that did anything bad. In fact, they weren't even into converting others. So now I'm really down with the pilgrims. So I'm going to read you from Mr. Wiki something about the pilgrims. It goes into all they started out as this group and then this and combined, blah, 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 blah. So the main core of the pilgrims were brought together around 1605 when they quit the Church of England to form separatist congregations. And they held beliefs called the Brownist beliefs that, ready? That
Yeah.
true churches were voluntary, democratic communities, not whole Christian nations.
Yeah. Doesn't that
That's
sound good?
not what we're doing here. Yeah, exactly. I know, but we're all
They're
saying,
trying not to.
let's get back to what the founders. Well, the pilgrims were not for this preaching out of the White House. As separatists, they held their differences with the Church of England, that they were irreconcilable, and that their worship should be independent of the trappings, traditions, and organization of a central church. So
there's the word I love, organization.
Exactly.
That's when the trouble starts.
So they're sort of our people. But how they got together with the Wampanoag Indians is very different also. So with a tad bit of research, I found out if the Pilgrims had arrived even 2 years earlier, they would not even be able to fit on Plymouth because of all the Indians there. But a disease had wiped out tons of the Indians, and the disease, unfortunately, they got from rat urine. I don't know what's going on there, but
Noah's Ark.
Yeah. And it wiped out a bunch of them. And then, so the pilgrims could land. And they didn't really take to the pilgrims, who they thought were dumb as shit, because they couldn't do anything. But
you mean like start fires?
Yeah. And they kept getting the olives stuck on their fingers at Thanksgiving. That tribe of Native Americans had their enemy, much like our football team, the Falcons, hated the Rams. This was the same thing with them, but because the white man began to befriend them and trade with them, it would make them feel safer against their enemies. Like the enemy tribe would be like, oh, okay, we're not going to go over there and do anything because they've got those weird people there and we don't know what's going to happen and their numbers might be bigger.
The people who don't know how to do anything? You mean like live off the land and stuff like that?
Yeah, so supposedly the Pilgrims traded with the Indians, axes and metal knives and all this. And then what they wanted in return was beaver pelts.
Uh-huh.
So I think National Geographic, I was reading them, were like, that's like going up to someone and saying, here's some gold. I'd like to trade it for that rock you have there. So they just didn't know how to do their own stuff. They were freezing. They thought when they landed that it was much warmer and they started freezing. So anyway,
God, how much warmer did they think it was? They were coming from England.
But they thought,
They didn't have satellite
they
imagery, I
did
guess.
not have, that's right, Siri, what is the temperature? They thought that Plymouth was near the equator. And anyway, they froze. They were ill prepared. Shocker, etc.
I just like the idea that my first reaction is to laugh at them for being dumb, which is so cruel.
But they had their buckles on their shoes. They could have rubbed those together to start fire. I don't know.
So they were the ones who wanted the pelts?
The Pilgrims wanted the pelts.
The Pilgrims wanted the pelts to stay warm.
Yes. And they would give them knives and axes and things that were, actually the Indians couldn't make and have themselves, but the Pilgrims could have gone and gotten their pelts, but they don't know how to do that either. So anyway, they traded with that group. And so the first Thanksgiving was really sort of like a political, we're being seen together thing, because Thanksgiving really for them meant fasting, but this got named Thanksgiving accidentally through something, and that's how it's carried on today. But I found it interesting that I'm like, you know what? The Pilgrims didn't try and convert them. They weren't killing them. It was, everything we hear is just, even when it's like, that's not how the first Thanksgiving was. This is like a retelling of the retelling of the retelling. But
so was the first Thanksgiving just a dinner, or just?
It was just, it could have been a few days long. And that's all I know. And it was more of a political type thing to show that they were in unison. And they did that, the Pilgrims, so that they could get more, pelts and all that good stuff. And the Native Americans, that tribe did it so that the other tribe would stay away from them, because their numbers were so down that if they got in a battle, they would have lost because of their numbers being down because of rat urine disease. So,
oh my God.
So anyway, Bonnie and I really think this Thanksgiving, put out a little thing of rat urine to memorialize and really get into the Thanksgiving spirit.
Yes, and put your rat urine out in tiny vials. Oh my God.
That. So do you remember at church, like when it was Thanksgiving? Okay, first I didn't know, like there are Christians who don't celebrate Thanksgiving because of its pagan origins, because it combined.
Shut up.
I'm
really?
not joking. Yeah, because it combined like the Pilgrims' Thanksgiving was prayer and fasting. So obviously it wasn't a true, quote, Thanksgiving that we celebrate. And it coincides with the Harvest Festival. And that had the cornucopia is supposedly something that they don't.
Right.
It's a pagan symbol, and it shows up on a lot of like things that have to do with money. So it's one of those Illuminati things, like avoid it. It's not Christian. Yeah, so a lot of them don't.
Right. To me, it just is hopefully a simple time of let's stop and be thankful.
Not after this episode, it's not.
What?
Not after this episode. You'll never think of it nicely again. But do you remember at our church, it would be like special because somehow they would cut out and put on the mimeographed program a cornucopia and then just write Thanksgiving. And then every year we sang, "We gather together to sing the Lord's blessings,"
I
or
like
whatever
that
it is.
you sang that like a Muppet. Thank you.
I know.
I remember back when we only had like typewriters for the church bulletin, they
Yeah.
would use ampersands and other things to print out a turkey
Oh.
on the church service.
Oh,
So
that's
if you'd ever
cool.
taken an actual typing class, you would do this with your whole class. Space, 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 ampersand, 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 and then all
I
the
gotcha.
spaces, and then a return. And then you'd go through these crazy exercises. And then at the end, you'd have a piece of paper with, a heart or a Valentine or something. They'd use all dollar signs at our church. But let me just tell you before we start anything, our Thanksgivings growing up were so boring because it was me and my mom and my grandparents, and we had dinner together plenty. So Thanksgiving was nothing out of the ordinary,
Yeah.
except a lot more food and a lot more preparation and a lot more time for people to drink and a lot more time for things to just go awry.
Yay.
So when we had Thanksgiving with your family one year, we did the thing that is so apparently typical, but I never knew about it.
Oh,
And your
no.
mom said, "Okay, we're all going to go around the table and say one thing that we're thankful for this year."
Right.
It was the first time I'd ever done that.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
Yeah.
didn't know if you knew. Yeah.
So we dreaded it because it would be like my brother would just be like, "I'm thankful I got this new saxophone," or whatever it is. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm thankful my hair looks feathered today on one side."
On one side.
And then my mother would go into a 15-minute deep dive into
Yeah.
thankfulness of family history. There's some illnesses of relatives thrown in. There's, all that. So, yeah, but now it's pretty good. Now it's the kids who try and avoid it and look each other in the eyes. And then, especially one of my kids just is like,
Surly.
right. And my brother gets choked up and,
Aw. Because he remembers the 15-minute deep dives.
that's right.
Okay, so as I have told Karen, in my life, I have conversations that I consider worthy of Thanksgiving fights on, I would say, like 4 out of 7 days each week. So that's the degree of regularity because of the people who I work with and their opinions and how they feel it very important to talk about them all the time.
Right.
Um,
And you
so
are around a lot of older, stubborn people in South Florida.
well,
Let's clarify what you do.
let's clarify.
Right.
But yeah, and I do think that it is a generational thing because I noticed so many similarities. There are 3 people in particular I'm thinking of. When you talk to them, somehow they think that making it into a debate or putting the counterpoint out there, that means conversation.
Right. Right. Yeah. The
And I don't,
contrarian.
do you
Yeah.
find that?
I have I've known contrarians in my life and now I just avoid them. I always would have the one kid in class that'd be a contrarian and man,
Yeah.
I'd want to slap them. But yeah, that happens to older people a lot. And I look forward to that.
Do you?
Yeah. Not fair. Just for someone to be like, "Hi, isn't it a beautiful day?" It is not. That's
Right.
going to be fun for me.
Well, um, so personally, I've developed tricks for avoiding it. for not, not taking the bait
Right.
and getting into a conversation because they're looking.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're looking, and the questions that they ask are just ready to introduce a certain topic. And my thesis statement is people don't really want to hear what your opinions are. And I mean, I'm sorry that's bursting your bubble, but if they really wanted to hear what your opinions were, they'd just call you on a different day, you know?
Oh, you're talking about Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because I really think when they ask opinions, they're just lying to try to get you into a debate, and so that they can tell you their opinions.
Yeah,
So,
true. Or yeah, they just can't help it. And I mean, I'm an opinionated person, but I don't get together with my family and be like, you know what? This is the time to confront this person on their wrong way of thinking. It's
yeah.
just, you don't,
And
yeah,
how likely do you think it is that they're going to change their mind anyhow?
right.
Because I'm not going to. So if you think that you're going to make me change my ways and all of a sudden at Thanksgiving decide, you know what, I will go to church every week. Thank you. Thank you for what you said to me.
I
That's
know.
just that's very rare.
It will never happen. The only, way to change someone's opinion is Facebook posts. So just keep that one up.
So
Yeah.
given that you're not going to change your opinion and they are probably not going to change theirs, I think personally the trick then of these big gatherings is just to persevere. So
Yes.
it's like a mind game. It's like having an MRI in a tube. You just have to get through it. And how many times have you cursed yourself at the end of it going, "Oh my God, I really thought that he would say something. Why did I share that?" And then it turns out you're Charlie Brown hoping that Lucy's going to let you kick the football.
Yes.
So
And
all
that's
my whole goal is like, don't be Charlie Brown. Why do you think it's going to be different this time?
right. And that's the whole thing that I think I've talked to you before, but definitely talked to my husband. Like when people are contrary and they try and bring things up and try and engage you in an argument or try and push at you, and you are just like, you know what? It's not worth it. I don't want to make other people feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to get involved in this.
Yeah.
It is always the people who are maybe less religious, less bigoted. All these things, we're the ones that are always stepping down, which I know in the long run is probably not good. But we're like, okay, we have to keep the peace because so many times everywhere I go, I'm in Tennessee, people just assume that I'm a Christian and voted for Trump and all this. And even if you meet them, they just start talking about it.
Yeah,
And
and they have little feeler conversation things that they'll poke out there to like get an idea of how you feel about something.
see here, it's just outright, they just do it. So I'm a writer. I was talking to another writer, and she's like, well, and wherever God leads you, you've got to write about that. And when he's tugging on your heart, you've been there, you know what I mean? Da, da, da. And I let it go on for half an hour.
Oh my
And then
God,
I'm
I have
like,
an hour.
I'm just going to have to, I could barely get a word in. So I'm going to have to tell her, well, actually,
What?
I'm not a Christian. So that was fun from then on.
Well, was I telling you the other day about this inspection we were in and the guy started going, "Oh yeah, there's that neighborhood where the gays have all bought the houses and made them look nice." I'm like, "Okay."
What?
Whoa, that could be true, but don't talk about it in a business
Right,
setting.
right, exactly. It could be, yeah.
Good
Yeah, that's the
Lord.
thing. Like, I think there is a sensitivity to issues that people who don't go to somewhere 2 to 3 times a week hearing the same thing filtered from a podium are
Right.
much more, open and let things go by. But that's just me saying I'm perfect.
Yeah, well, me too.
Yeah.
The other thing I always think is if you're lucky enough to have kind of a large family,
Mhm.
and other people will share the burden of having the conversation and biting, all those little pieces of bait.
Mhm.
Silence is fine, isn't it?
I am so uncomfortable with silence. I can't tell you, but I
Really?
think I hate it. Like it's sort of yeah, it really bothers me. But I do I mean, I'm a podcaster. Why else am I doing this? I'm talking into the void. It's my favorite thing. But
But you're talking to people who are the audience that has gravitated to us.
yeah, but I had to start talking first.
Well,
So
well,
see, it was just a continuation of my need to fill silence.
really
Yes.
interesting.
I know.
Because I was thinking, like, if I were in a bigger family, and I have done this at countless business dinners where people just talk and talk and talk. I will pick the celebrity that two of the people at the table look like the most. And then
Mhm.
in my mind, I will play the 6 degrees of separation game. But I'll do it like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Right.
So I think, okay, she looks like Shirley MacLaine, and he looks like, uh,
It has.
Nick, what, Ed Asner. That one's hard because it's a TV and whole movie thing. So,
Uh,
but then that'll eat up a lot of time. And then I try, I'm only playing against myself. So, if you say Shirley MacLaine and Nick Cage, you can think of, Shirley MacLaine was in this movie with so and so, and he was in this. And then you can play against yourself and go, I can do better. I can do better. And then try to get them within like 2 or 3 connections of movies.
well, see, the thing is with you, when you think your eyebrow goes up and down, like your right one, then your left one. So I can only imagine people just looking at this silent woman with her eyebrows going like, bang, dong, bang. They're like, you know what? She never talks. Just don't look her right in the eyes.
Don't look her in the eyebrow.
So I guess it worked. But fortunately, like my family's really cool. Like my, sibling, nieces, nephews, the ones that I see regularly, we're basically all on the same page. Not religiously, but we know, hey, we're going to avoid talking about this or that. And no one says anything racist or whatever.
Yeah,
But,
like how do you have a loving conversation with people who ultimately you love and you want to have a nice conversation with? Why is that hard?
because some are just jackasses.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I say, I don't know. What I believe. Mhm.
So we polled some of the listeners, and we've come up with what some of you guys said you do over the holidays when you're stuck with people who have different religious beliefs or political beliefs than you. So, number one on the winning scale is alcohol. Um, Lots of people said, just pour it in and get going, which is for the Southern Baptists, they have no idea how that could not work because for most of my Thanksgivings, we never had alcohol. One person wrote, their way to survive is definitely topic avoidance and alcohol. I wish that I can bring myself to not go to church with my family for the holidays, but at this point, it's basically part of my Christmas present for my mom that I go to church twice a year.
That's
So,
not a big ask. Do you think?
it, yes,
How many
for
well,
me,
I guess for
yeah.
you, but to me it's like how many business meetings do you have to suffer through?
No, it's totally different
Why?
because it's a belief-based system. So like a meeting is, nothing here nor there, but a church thing is where they're trying to say there's one belief system to have, and everyone sitting here either has it or should have it. It would be
Right.
like going to, like, hey, do you want to come to this satanic meeting? And of course, most people would say no, because that's not their belief system and that's not what they want to sit through. So
Right.
for
But for
me,
your
yeah,
mom,
no,
twice a year.
no,
Okay.
not me.
Well, you're
No.
just mean.
I know. I have deep seated issues with, like, it's wrong, not going to do it. Um, so it's almost like a moral thing to me now.
I
So it's sort
know
of
because
flipped.
and I'm suddenly realizing you're not gonna appreciate my other tactic for Thanksgiving, which is just to lie. And they don't have to be big lies that you make up. They could just be lies of omission or
I like,
casual.
no, this turkey's great. Yeah.
No, but like, "Hey, I've got an upset stomach, so I might have to bow out
Oh,
early." Well,
oh, yeah, for sure.
oh, so okay. That's okay.
That's
All right.
fun. Yeah, yeah. Because,
Okay.
I mean, what you're trying to avoid is blowing up and either screaming at your family or screaming in a church, this is bullshit. I'm not putting up with this anymore. So anything to avoid those by not going, by getting a fake stomach ache, I'm all for, because it's keep the peace, which I'm down with that.
Okay, so 2 Christmases ago, this person says their mother-in-law and her parents were picking on each other. Then it says mother-in-law had gone to a Catholic church for Christmas service, and her parents like to gamble. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore and went outside and read for 10 minutes. It was so cold that my freshly charged Kindle died until I charged it again. We left soon after. I'm like, oh.
So the funny thing, right after that comment, someone else wrote, avoidance basically is what this person does. And then he or she said, and I bring my Kindle filled up with books.
Then this person says, I sit at the dinner table and chit chat with my mother in law about things not religious or political while the guys are in the family room arguing. My son joins me and my mother in law yells at the men to stop fighting. Perfect.
Someone else was saying, I try to stay away from the more extremist relatives, and I commiserate with my sister on biblical toxic positivity we get from the grandma and the mother. And right
Hmm.
after that, someone else writes alcohol and included the emoji for wine. So that's good.
Um, and then I think, is that the same person that says this is the first holiday season? I am introducing my non Christian boyfriend, so I'll let you know how that goes. And I know what topics to stay away from. There are safe topics and dangerous ones. I stay safe.
Very good. It's like putting on a condom over your spirit.
A topical
Someone's
condom, although that sounds
Yeah,
like cream. Um, I
it's
would,
good though.
but I think, is this a good time, do you think, to say to definitely join our Facebook group and
Yes.
talk about the shit that's going on at your house with all the people on there? I think that's a
Yeah,
great place to vent and feel solidarity with the others.
for sure. Because that's where we get a lot of this from. And every once in a while, someone will be like, hey guys, I just want to talk about blah that just happened to me or whatever. And everyone
Mhm.
is very supportive. And I just let the other members do their thing, um, because, we're just as intelligent or stupid as anyone else. And sometimes when you lead a podcast, I've seen in different groups, whenever the person who leads it speaks up, it's like
Mhm.
people want to put more validation in that opinion than the other ones.
Oh
So I
God.
just stay out of it
Wrong.
exactly because one, we could possibly get sued. Doesn't mean we give good advice, bad advice, but everyone in the group's very supportive. So, deconversion therapy on Facebook.
Yeah. And the other thing about that is once you stop letting something be the most powerful thing in your brain and you share it with other people, that opens the floodgates for it to be funny.
Yeah,
and you can
exactly.
step back and see it objectively. So I just love that group. I think it's a great place for venting shit on
Yeah,
holidays.
and they're funny, and it's all really, I like it a lot.
You know what?
So don't
Go.
join and mess it up. Yeah.
That's another thing, though. You said they're funny. I think also that maybe the trouble with some of the people who you have conflict with at the dinner table, I suspect that a lot of them don't have a sense of humor. I mean, they think they do, but they're going to
Yeah.
be very serious about, okay, I'm going to have this opinion and I'm going to talk about it and you're going to take it seriously and you are not to make wisecracks. And, wisecracks are funny.
Exactly. And I mean, having that kind of discussion when you just get together once is, I couldn't do it. So, speaking of that, I've got so many other fun things to share. There's someone on Twitter called Faithless Southerner, and I think it was yesterday or the day before. He writes, "Currently, I'm at a Thanksgiving function with some extremely conservative family. Stay tuned to this thread for all the gems of knowledge they drop." Here's some that he tweeted. "Did you know that there are more homeless people than people with homes in California? That or the numbers about even." And then another one. "All of the forests are on fire in California. Also, there's a lot of mudslides happening. Plus, if you live there, Nancy Pelosi is your representative, and she's, quote, a real treat." Climate change is a hoax. Transgenders are bad. No one wants to see them on TV. And then he says, "We are now proudly displaying various rebel flag clothing."
Anyone wearing a flag clothing item.
So I just live tweet it. Just go ahead, live tweet your Thanksgiving, tag us, and entertain us because that was hilarious. I was watching it the other day. More people said, "I still respect their beliefs and they respect mine and don't ask me to pray." So that's about the same with me. And it's good once, if you have the right relatives, that's really good. Another person said, "Alcohol and lots of and smiling."
Yep, that's me.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's another trick that that backfires on me all the time. Somebody will say to me something that's very pointed toward their values and beliefs, and I will just end it with "okay," and then they go, "No, no, 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 no." I'm like, "But you want me to agree with you?" "Well, not like that." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what you want. I'm agreeing. I'm saying okay." They're like, "No, you're dismissing me." I'm like, "Okay."
No, I love rebel flag headgear. And that's a good one.
Okay.
See, I'm just too close with my relatives. I couldn't say that. But luckily, no one says again, no one says anything really bad. And yes, we get a prayer, and it's all thanks be to Jesus. And there is part of me that now wants to say it started out as a pagan holiday, just like Christmas and just like Easter. But, I'm not going to take away, especially if someone's really elderly, like this person is, take away their comfort in life. It's just would be unfair of me. So I don't do that. Let's see. Oh, but one of the favorites that people said was know ahead of time how much I'm willing to be there and stick to it. Someone else said that. Know your time limit and leave at that time no matter what.
Right.
So that's a good one.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any reason in saying, "Oh, I've got to go to somebody else's house and make an appearance."
Huh?
And like when you say, know your time limit,
Yeah.
I don't think a white lie would be the worst thing in the world to say, "I've got to go to a friend's house and make an appearance at their Thanksgiving dinner."
Yes, I
Then they'll start
agree.
asking questions.
Or you can be like, I have to go. I have to watch TV. That's what I'm going to do.
That's my subtext.
Yeah. A lot of people say avoidance. When I must interact, I keep a close eye on that exit and my escape plan and cling to some of my catchphrases of, I'm going to step outside for some air, or
Yeah.
I'm going to step away for some quiet time. So I like that.
Yeah.
And then someone said Xanax or Klonopin or weed if available and discreet. The person said, I'm also a pro at disassociating. So I spend a lot of time in my head. See, that's like you.
Yeah. And Xanax is very good at making what other people say that you think is bullshit just, whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
And that does not make you unable to help out in a crisis like some people who I know think. They won't take a Xanax when flying on a plane because ultimately they think they need to be, prepared.
Right.
And
I
ready.
won't be alert. I'll miss, but it doesn't do that at all.
No, you're going to be alert and fly the plane.
Yeah. There was we were coming back from somewhere and there was a woman. Well, no, there was a young man behind me and he kept like standing up, looking to the front. The plane hadn't taken off. Then I see a woman like 7 rows up looking back at him. They're trying to communicate. They look panicked. And so I turn and I look at him and he's like, she's really scared. She's having panic, about being in an airplane. We couldn't get seats together.
Right.
So I got out a Xanax and I put it in a tissue and I just passed it up. And, I thought she'd get the tissue, stand up, look at him again and be like, what's this? She just popped it. She didn't even ask what it was.
She knew what it was.
I don't think so, because later she's like, I didn't even know what it was. I just was like, okay, I'm taking it.
That's
so
hilarious.
I know.
Molly is great.
This is fantastic. Okay, so I asked on Instagram stories, follow us on there because sometimes it's fun. What people did there, and they were really funny. So someone wrote, I go with the flow. Arguing just slows down the process of getting to the feast and wine, which I like.
Absolutely.
Someone else wrote, family are JWs, Jehovah's Witnesses, so they don't celebrate. And I'm an ex-JW and happy to celebrate. So, yeah, that must be so freeing to just finally get to do stuff like that. I love this one. It said, I just avoid extended family altogether. Also, by putting homophobic Bernice in her fucking place.
That's one of those names that has a generation attached to it.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Someone said, I don't spend time with them and tell them I don't celebrate Christmas. I celebrate solstice. Some of these people are very badass. Someone says that they leave town. Someone says they survive it by sneaking alcohol in a water bottle.
Ooh, that's very close to my grain alcohol suggestion. Yep.
Now, these are my 2 favorite, along with the other one you laughed at, of Bernice. I tell them how much Zeus has changed my life, and I quietly whisper under his eye. You got to watch Handmaid's Tale for that one. And then someone said, ask a hot topic question like, once saved, always saved, right? And let them fight it out for themselves. I love that one. I want to do that one.
That's awesome. I would like to be at a party where I could just cause trouble, with conversation starters.
And never have to like face the people again or.
Yeah. But I'd love it to be where there were people who could have a quality conversation and not just pivot off of something and go into their beliefs about other stuff. Because lately I have a lot of people who believe in the hatred of other races, and also telling me how marijuana should never be legalized.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've not been able to answer when I say back to them, well, if marijuana shouldn't be legal, why aren't we working on outlawing alcohol?
Right.
I can't get an answer
people.
for that.
Right.
If somebody could give me a good answer for it, then I'd go along with it.
Exactly.
But I think I'm running in the wrong crowds.
Yeah, they're stuck in them ways. I have a few suggestions if you have lulls in your Thanksgiving time on Thursday. I found this when I Googled, I think it was churches and Thanksgiving, and I came up with something called Thanksgiving activities for church and families.
So I guess when you explain this, I'll understand what that means.
Yes, it's just some activities you can do at your gathering. And here's the article. It talks about how this can be a wonderful holiday. And if you're looking to integrate some Christian traditions into Thanksgiving, well, here's some suggestions.
Are there any? Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I couldn't have made this up better. Number one is called Act It Out.
That's right up your alley.
Exactly. It says, read the story of the 10 lepers. Remind your children that Jesus was pleased with the one man who returned to give thanks for being healed. Provide rags for bandages and let your children play roles of the lepers and Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
That's it. What I really want to do is have kids around for Thanksgiving, talk about deadly diseases, and think about scabs falling off skin while I'm eating a drumstick.
You know what this reminds me of is the thing that you posted on Instagram where the person had earrings and what hung down was an actual replica of an ear. So it looked like they had two ears. If you had a leprosy theme going on, you could just lose your earring.
That's right. And there was the finger. It's on Instagram today, which is Sunday, but I'll repost it on
I really want that finger ring. That would be a great leprosy joke.
It's funny. Someone, when I put it up on the story, then someone was like, I need these.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay, here's another one that they think is a great idea for a joyous Thanksgiving with children. It says read a book. Okay, that makes sense. But it says share a book that expresses gratitude and thankfulness. For example, consider Corrie ten Boom's The Hiding Place.
You want me to laugh at that?
She was in the Holocaust. So it's a Holocaust. You can bring out at Thanksgiving.
I could tell you thought I had knowledge of that reference.
Oh my God. Share Corey's story, pointing out her struggle to be, quote, thankful for all things. She even thanked God for fleas in her barracks. This is the worst suggestion for anything I've ever seen.
Wait.
What?
wait, because there was one memory that just flashed in my head from church. I don't remember how old we were, but I think we were in college, and we had somebody with an accent that if you didn't listen closely, you could easily just zone out and think that they were from another country and didn't speak English. So I was in that zoned out place. They
Right.
were up there speaking. I'm sitting in the pew, probably playing whatever mind game that I played. And then I hear him say, and I thank God for pus. And I was jolted out of my whatever I was doing in my brain. I'm like, what is he talking about? So I thank God for pus. And then he went on to talk about how the white blood cells rush to an injury, and that's what pus is. And
Oh my God.
I know.
And stay after church where we're going to have milk and white cupcakes. God. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
with
I mean,
extra
this is,
mayonnaise.
oh, gross. This is just really straining. So I say just, go with the alcohol, give the kids some alcohol, skip the whole
Stop it.
acting out being a leper, and try and enjoy the holiday as much as you can. At the least, hopefully you get some time off work and you
Yeah.
get to, chill out and rejuvenate a bit.
Okay, so guys, I would just really love it if you send in any kind of of story about what happened at your Thanksgiving dinner that you think would be funny or interesting for us to read on the air, and we can have like a post Thanksgiving debriefing episode. And I guess you could send this
Yes.
also to our email address, which is deconversiontherapypodcast@gmail.com, or go on our website, and there's a place where you can put in, my funny 5-minute story. But if they're Thanksgiving related, that'd be kind of a fun thing to read in December before Christmas.
Man, those pagans know how to throw a holiday.
Yeah.
Yes, we'd love to know what you snuck in or what you snuck out, what you were on before you walked into Thanksgiving, whether it's alcohol or other mind altering things. And if there was any kind of blowout or someone made an announcement to the family that was totally
Or maybe
unexpected. We're ready
meditation
to hear
helped
it.
and you didn't need any kind of mind altering substance.
Well, don't write that in. Nobody wants to read that.
It could happen.
It could. So if you write send that to our email, like what's her face said.
Thank you.
Just put Thanksgiving in the subject line.
Awesome. All right. And don't forget to rate us and review and all that kind of stuff, because that makes us easier to be found by the other people who will share in your misery.
Our enemies. Thanks.
Bye.